This episode of The Next Best Thing was made possible through the generous support of Myriad Oncology.
Myriad Oncology provides a portfolio of advanced genetic and tumor genomic testing solutions, including risk assessment, screening, tools to aid treatment guidance, and survivorship planning. The Myriad Oncology offering is designed to meet the unique needs of oncology specialists and their patients across each step in the patient care continuum.
To learn more, visit myriad.com/oncology.
Hey listeners, want us to let you know when new episodes are available? Simply hit the subscribe or follow button on the Next Best Thing podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, join the conversation on our Facebook group by searching the Next Best Thing podcast group on Facebook.
On this episode of The Next Best Thing, our topic today is how to combat breast surgeon burnout.
I think I first noticed this when I was a general surgery resident. One group that was very burnt out, they didn't have a lot of...
Do you feel like you can cap the number of patients that you see?
I also do draw some lines in the sand of like...
I'm terrible at this and have gone through many phases of burnout. And it's not just me that's burned out. It was...
What is it that makes you you? Because it needs to be more than being a surgeon.
I'm not sure that vacation is the fix to burnout.
It's okay to not be okay. And I think
That's a big secret. You schedule the time.
We often treat the people at work sometimes better than at home because
But in the back of my head is I'm being selfish to allow that time for me.
I don't know what it's not like to be going 100 miles an hour all the time, scheduled to the minute.
If I'm not doing surgery, I'm not making money. And that's very true if you're selling your time for money. But we should be also selling...
If you were going to set up your life right now to prevent burnout, what would you do differently?
This is Carla.
Ellie.
Michael.
Susie.
And Susan, welcome to The Next Best Thing, a podcast by the American Society of Breast Surgeons for the entire breast community.
We're a group of devoted surgeons from different parts of the country,
Inviting you to journey with us into the science of breast.
Through the heart and soul of our breast community.
From advances in procedures and patient care to personal transformation, we're here to support you.
So, if you're part of the breast community and can't seem to find the answers, this is the next breast thing.
Our topic today is how to combat breast surgeon burnout. Before we get started, let's begin with some personal and professional updates. Ellie, what's new with you?
So I actually just attended Dr. Melvin Silverstein, a very well-known ASBRS member, his retirement party a couple days ago. And I think this is going to really tie nicely into the episode because this guy is just the opposite of burnout. He is loving his career. He's 85 years old and just retired. And it was just really special to see a surgeon who has been operating that long and the things that he recounted and talked about being important and his lifetime achievement. So I just was there last night. It was fantastic seeing all the lives that he's touched, and it was really empowering and a great lesson on avoiding burnout. Susie, what about you? What's new with you?
Okay, mine's totally the opposite. Over the past probably year and a half, my daughter and I have volunteered at a farm, and it's a regenerative farm. So it's like the whole goal is doing natural things that enhance the ecosystems, no waste. And so we do a variety of things. I mean, we've done everything from electric fences, and we've done making giant compost piles and weeding, and then we take care of a lot of animals. But exciting this week, there are some puppies, and we get to help train the puppies from when they are just born up to when they go to their forever homes. And so that is always a joy, along working with all the other animals. And this will also tie into the episode too. Michael, how's Bovie?
Well, Bovie is fine. She's growing almost in time for me to trade her off for a new Bovie 2. In an attempt to fight against burnout, I've taken up fishing. And that was a bad idea. I'm burned out from fishing. I'm not going to lie. You're standing out there. I don't know how people catch fish. I catch mosquitoes. You just can't. All these people that are reeling things in, I reel nothing in. I sit out there. I get sunburned. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, I'm done. So my attempt to remedy burnout is just now burning me out. So we're going to pick up a new hobby. I don't know what that'll be. We'll figure that out here in the next week or so. But that was a real disappointment. Well, let's move on to our topic. And our topic today, as you may have already heard, is that of burnout. It doesn't show up on the operative report or in the EMR, but it's affecting more of us than we often admit. So we're going to talk about combating that. You know, our work is deeply meaningful, but it can also be emotionally and physically and mentally exhausting. We got long hours, intense patient relationships, administrative burdens, and the weight of life-altering decisions. Today, we're giving ourselves permission to be a little bit vulnerable, pulling back the curtain to honestly look at what burnout looks like in our specialty, how to recognize it in ourselves and in our colleagues, and most importantly, what we can actually do about it. Who would like to get the conversation started? Ellie, I'm old. I have permission to be burned out. You're young.
I think I first noticed this when I was a general surgery resident, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do in life, who I wanted to be. Did I want to do trauma? Did I want to do breast? What did I want to do? And looking back, I was noticing who was burnt out. And I noticed that the breast surgeons, at least where I was practicing, had less burnout than the rest of the crew. They were happier for whatever reason. They had good family life. You know, they just seemed to be enjoying their job. And I remember taking note of that and looking kind of around at the other guys and seeing what did they do differently? What was the difference between these two groups? And I noticed a couple things. One group that was very burnt out, they didn't have a lot of control of their time. They were bending at the will of whatever came through the door, or they didn't have control of their schedule. They weren't setting up their clinics in the way that they wanted. They were just kind of letting medicine happen to them. The second thing I noticed was a lot of them didn't have any other income other than their surgeon job. They hadn't started investing, they were overspending, and they were very, very dependent on that paycheck. So that was the second thing that I really noticed. And then the third thing was, like Susie's mentioning, they didn't have anything else outside of the hospital. They didn't have hobbies. They didn't have any free time or time for themselves at the end of the day. And when I'm looking back, I think those were some of the big things that I noticed in people who were burnt out. And when I was making my decision, I was like, okay, maybe I should look for a specialty where you have some time freedom, where you have time to do things that you love outside of medicine, where you take it upon yourself to be financially literate enough to start having your money work for you so that you're not completely dependent on that paycheck. Those are the things that I've noticed as a surgeon early in my career to try and avoid. Nobody wants to be burnt out.
How do you square that, though, as a new surgeon? Because as a new surgeon, you don't have the ideal clinic time. You don't have the ideal operating room time. And there is a push for you to be busy, busy, busy. Mm-hmm. So how do you square that with, hey, I want to protect my time, but the other push is show us what you can do?
I think you can be busy and organized. At least in my practice, that's how I square it. I'm very busy, but I'm very organized. I don't waste time. I try to be as productive as possible and eliminate any time that's not valuable.
Do you feel like you can cap the number of patients that you see? This is all I'm going to do, that you're sort of preemptive with it? Or do you just sort of take what comes to you? Hey, this patient just walked in. Can you see them? Susie.
Michael, I am my own worst enemy. If someone's diagnosed with breast cancer and I learn about it on a Friday, I'm calling that patient. I don't want them to sit and be like, I don't know what stage it is. I don't know what it is. I want them to know they're safe. Sometimes it's not safe, but most often safe, and we are going to take care of them and let them have a breath for over the weekend. So I am 100% my own worst enemy. My whole clinic knows it. I add on all the time. And I feel that it's really important. And also, like Ellie said, I also do draw some lines in the sand of like, this is really my dedicated time and I'm doing this, and I let my office know that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, efficiency, I think, is a main key. There's this idea that you think you can do it all, and you need to have competent help around you and tools around you. I think with the advent of AI, there's going to be a whole lot of improvement in note-taking and things like that. But I think it's providing that efficiency to where I probably don't have to call this benign result while I'm in the middle of the OR. And being able to farm out those things. Now, I would call all of my patients that have a cancer diagnosis that was unexpected, or an unexpectedly bad result like atypia, and when we thought that it might just be totally benign. But it's being able to use those folks around you. Now, being the old guy, now that Susan's not here tonight, I guess I'm the oldest of this bunch, in that I'm terrible at this and have gone through many phases of burnout, because I've gone through phases of building a practice and not saying no and working on emergency mode for years at a stretch. And it's always this promise that when this changes, we'll be able to shift back into normal mode. It never changed. You just learn that that's the new norm. And it's not just me that's burned out. It was the staff that was burned out as well. So it really does start, I think, at the beginning. I think, Ellie, you're in a great position. Susie, you're in a great position to kind of define what you're going to do. I look back and I realize I didn't do a good job of this. I'm just now raising cows and fishing. I'm old. I didn't benefit from any of that off time. Let's hear some strategy. Yeah, Susie.
I think truly hearing Ellie of like, oh, I went to this event. Oh, I went to this lecture. Oh, I'm trying to do this. And I think that is a really important key of finding something outside of medicine and making sure you have connection with people that are important to you, whether it be your family, whether it be friends. People are in different situations, but you have to make that a priority, just as you make work and your patients your priority. Bottom line, if we sit there and tell people for risk reduction, you need to exercise 150 to 180 minutes a week. Are you doing it? Are you maintaining a healthy body weight? Are you limiting your alcohol intake? And really, what is it that makes you you? Because it needs to be more than being a surgeon.
How well do y'all say no?
Terrible. I am the worst. As someone did tell me, for every time I say yes, I have to take
say no to something else
off my list. And I'm really bad at that too. I'm really, really bad at this, but I am really good about carving these protected times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like that really it's in work that we can manage it. I'm not sure that vacation is the fix to burnout, because what ends up happening is you take a full schedule and you make it more full the week before vacation, and you take the other half of that full schedule and shove it to the week you get back. It's almost not worth taking vacation for. So I think this has to be built into a day-to-day lifestyle and practice lifestyle. How much are you guys dedicating to, hey, I'm going to exercise during this period of time, or I'm going to turn it off at this particular time?
100%. I run every single day. Now, I don't know. I mean, you can argue if that's healthy or not, but that is a priority of my day every single day. And I agree, Michael, that sometimes, especially me as a general surgeon, I have to take the same amount of calls per month, whether I go on vacation or not, and they're overnight in-house. I am in the hospital 24 to 36 hours. We could sleep if nothing's happening, but I am accountable if something bad happens, and I need to be there, need to be on my game. And that's a little bit of a difference. And so if I go on vacation for a long period of time, those calls get compressed and the rest of my workload gets compressed. So sometimes for me, microcations work great. A 3-day weekend where it's not so much of a hassle to pack, it's not so much of a hassle to go away, but you go away and you have a great time. And another trick I learned for me personally is going out of the country, and I can go to Mexico in 3.5 hours, and I don't have access to the electronic medical record there. So I need to have stuff wrapped up ahead of time, and then there's a firewall. And that was something I needed to help me say, let it go. This is your time to be with your family.
When you go on your off-grid trips, do you take a phone?
They don't work. I mean, I can take it for pictures.
So you're not bringing like a Starlink with you to stay connected?
No. I'm a little high risk. My husband probably has one packed away in his backpack because I am alive today because my husband is thoughtful and much more sensible. He hasn't disclosed that to me, which makes me happy.
Ellie, do you ever turn your phone off?
No. You mentioned like how often do we say no? And that is something that's really hard, especially in the world of cancer. It's cancer. How can you say no to cancer? And the truth is, a lot of people are profiting from you not saying no. Your ethical drive isn't always being compensated for, but saying no is very difficult. And I'm so envious of you, Susie, that you go on vacation and don't have service. I can't imagine doing that. At this point in my career, I'm too in it. And I don't have it set up so that anyone else can answer a lot of these questions. It's definitely my own fault that I have it set up that way, but there's so many things that I have to answer every day. And I think avoiding burnout would be having a system where maybe my PA or somebody can answer these questions for me.
Really good point, Ellie, is having a team around you, and they may not have the perfect answer. They may say, hey, Dr. Hagen needs to review this when she gets back, but this is what I think. And just having that touch is really important, or a partner that can do that. I think that is a really important, and every surgeon should set that as a goal. If you don't have someone you can rely on, when you leave, do that. Another trick I've seen, my husband does this, I do not. He comes back from vacation one day early and uses that next day to catch up. So when he's back at work, he's ready to be there. Now me, I'm like, wow, I'd be missing this many RVUs. That's crazy. Why would I ever do that? So I'm totally different. But for him, that's extremely soothing having a buffer time when you get back to be caught up. Michael, what are tricks you know?
Well, as an example of a bad strategy, I took calls from Cairo one time. So that is, again, just don't do what I did and you're going to be absolutely better off. The newer generation, now, boy, do I sound like my grandfather, but the younger generation has dealt with this better. I think even with the way that medicine is provided now in shifts, with hospitalists or hospital-based surgeons or things like that, they know they're on for a certain time and then they're off. I don't think that exists very much for breast surgeons, but it is something that I'm going to work hard on the time that I'm here. And then when I'm off, I'm off. Now, that was looked poorly upon during my training, that this is your patient and this is your patient all the time. And you being off has no bearing on this patient's well-being. I think there's been a real shift, probably for the better, for probably everybody, the patient and the physician. But that is a real shift that I've noticed. Ellie, I mean, this is your generation I'm talking about here.
I think the key there is there's a lot more discussion. I doubt you guys were talking about burnout in your residencies. We had to have lectures about this. You know, the world of social media, all these things have brought these topics to the surface and they're being discussed in groups. And I think people realizing that they're not alone in the way they're feeling and discussing it and everything has really allowed my generation, at least, to try and learn from the generations ahead of them that maybe have made mistakes. So I think we've benefited from the pain that you guys went through and are hopefully setting ourselves up for a little lower rate of burnout, if anything, where we kind of know what's coming if we're not careful.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance. And I think it's okay to not be okay. And I think it's okay for surgeons to speak out. There are surgeons who have committed suicide and died because they did not feel they had any resources, and that they were the only person who could take care of something. That's how I was trained. And being able to trust other people to have your back when there is a complication, that you can reach out, because that is the biggest thing and heaviest load that a surgeon has to deal with, is when something doesn't go as expected. Sometimes that may be what our hands did, what we prescribed, and it may sometimes be patient disease, but we carry this so heavily, and to be able to reach out with resources that you are not alone. And it's super important to strategize things outside of the hospital to give you that diversion, give you that break. And if you don't like fishing, try something else.
Our surgical training kind of tells us that we're superheroes. We're the last line of defense for that patient, living or dying. It's just not true. I mean, we know that for surgeons, the divorce rate is high. I have been so blessed that my wife has put up with this. And she's on several occasions said, I came and watched what you did. And you've got all of these staff members wanting a piece of your time to tell you something. You've got a full day of patients that you're on. And then you get home and I don't want to talk to anybody. Yeah, I'm done for the day. But the most important part of my life, I'm making second fiddle to what's gone on throughout the day. And that does not serve us well at all. And I think being cognizant of that, I mean, we're tired. We're through with it. I think we've got to manage it at work so we can manage it at home for sure.
That is super important in being able to say, hey, you know what? On Friday nights, I need quiet. I need it home. I've had people coming at me all directions all week. Saturday, let's go out. But understanding yourself in order to communicate that to your spouse, your significant other, your partner, however that is, to get some of your needs met so that you can also continue to develop those relationships at home, which frankly are important. And it's sad that we spend more time with people at work than we do at home. And we often treat the people at work sometimes better than at home because we're spent. And I think it's important to be transparent about that.
Susie, being a female surgeon has another layer with kids. Love it or hate it, men are not geared the same way as women are for dealing with the kids. Sometimes the man kind of checks out a little bit. How do you deal with husband and kids and work? Because a lot of this is going to fall to you, whether you like it or not. And most breast surgeons are women. So that's a whole nother layer. How have you dealt with that?
Okay, my husband's amazing, first of all. He cooks. He's willing to chip in. He also works full time. We figure out who's mainly in charge of the evening, whether that be cooking, kid activities, whatever that is. And we kind of split that up. And sometimes there's weeks where I have a little bit more, and there's sometimes weeks where he has more. I will 100% say I am a much better person at being organized, and that creates such a sense of peace with me. At the beginning of every week, we outline the week. Everybody kind of knows what the days are looking like, and that helps me. And people joke around that we have to put the dish in the dishwasher just so I can cross it off and feel good about myself. But that's okay. We can laugh at each other. It is what it is. I have chosen to work. I know this is a gift of mine. Staying home full time would not be a gift of mine. That would drive everyone crazy. And I'm blessed that my husband will chip in.
I don't chip in at all, and that kind of makes me a loser, doesn't it? Ellie, when you are relaxing, what are you doing?
I am reading for pleasure. Reading for pleasure is like my favorite thing to do. If I could just get up in the morning, work out, read a book I want to read, not that I have to read, that is one of my favorite things. And I'm lucky enough to live by the ocean. So honestly, all I have to do is go to the ocean, put my feet in the water, and I'm in a different zone. Nature is something that I'm really connected to. So for me, it allows me to really settle when I can go into nature.
You've set aside time for this. You're not just hoping that that time comes around.
I wake up 30 minutes earlier than I would like to give myself time to work out every day. That's what I do. Susie, what about you?
I don't know that it's always relaxation, but things I do that I enjoy because I'm just not a relaxed kind of person ever. Like, I mean, maybe when I'm sleeping, when everyone else is watching a movie, that's when I am relaxed. I feel safe being around other people, and then I'll pass out on the couch and everyone's like, oh, another movie she picked out. But every morning I run, I work out. I've gotten to know my neighbors. We talked about that with Mahjong. I go to the farm every week. I volunteer and shop for the elderly. And these are on my schedule. These are things that don't move. Everything else can move, but you have to have some things set aside for you that are on the calendar.
That's a big secret. You schedule the time for you first. So when I make my calendar for the week, I write in my workouts. That goes on the calendar first. And then I put in the job stuff too. That's the only way it'll happen, at least in my world. If it's on the calendar, it's not happening.
Okay. And how does that not come off as being selfish? I think you're exactly right to do that. But in the back of my head is I'm being selfish to allow that time for me. And that's what leads to burnout, is this idea that I can't have me time, so to speak.
But if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you can't put it on anyone else, right?
Oh, Allie, that's so good. And I think every time I'm with neighbors, I always feel that I'm not normal. I mean, truly, I'm like, man, I did this. I went full power through medical school. I did residency. I stayed up. I did that. Then I go full time into a job. And I don't know what it's not like to be going 100 miles an hour all the time, scheduled to the minute. I just don't understand what it means to be like, oh, you want to just go hang out? What else are we doing while we're hanging out? And I know something's wrong with me, but I think at the same time, the best that I can do is schedule those things in for me. And I am a better person to others. I'm a better person to my patients because I also take care of myself. 100% not selfish.
If you were going to set up your life right now to prevent burnout, what would you do differently?
I think maybe I'd work one less day a week. I'd maybe work 4 days a week.
Can you make ends meet with that?
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh, everybody, you spend what you earn. I 100% believe that. And you have to prioritize time over value. It's just yep, I have the capability to mow my lawn, which we still do. And by we, it's my daughter. Michael, I would have started way earlier. It was 2025 that I made a priority for getting to know people outside of medicine and not feeling that 10 years from now, I'd be like, oh, what am I doing? What else is out there? Why have I missed out on all these things?
Yeah, my practice has been sort of like the old line in Life in the Fast Lane, everything all the time. And you look back, and I've been very fortunate to have a great family and it's all been together, but I don't have a ton of outside hobbies, and it's been a churn throughout. I would never recommend that. And I think the idea that I had in my head that I was being selfish to allow time for myself was foolish. And I would set a very firm schedule. I would try to stick to it. If I missed a consult, then I missed a consult. I would have probably used my help more efficiently, that I didn't have to be the one doing everything. That my practice was not all about me. It was more about the practice and not all about me. And I would have tried to recenter that a little bit.
As surgeons, I think our mindset is doing surgery is all we can do. But we are so gifted. We can handle emergencies. We can handle such stressful things. That's kind of where I'm going with the part of maybe working 4 days a week. We automatically say, no, but if I'm not doing surgery, I'm not making money. And that's very true if you're selling your time for money. But we should be also selling our value. And that money is exponential. I think getting comfortable with thinking about other ways that we generate money in addition to operating, of course, but that gives us freedom. That keeps us from having to add on the next surgery and the next surgery. It gives us options to where we're doing surgery for the pleasure of it or the joy of it instead of keeping the lights on and keeping up the lifestyle.
Susie, what does call do to you? Because you're doing general surgery call still, don't you?
I do. And it's trauma. It's level 2. People can come in with really serious injuries. I'm not going to lie. I still love the abdominal disaster. I know it smells like poop. It's everywhere. I'm not supposed to like that.
What's wrong with you?
Because it's amazing. I mean, crazy that someone comes in, they don't know me, they're sick, they're going to die. And I say, hey, I'm going to take out a little bit of your colon here, a little bit here, and I'm going to connect you back together. You're going to feel sick, but you're going to be okay. I mean, what an amazing gift. And they go, okay, what? That's assault and battery in any other sense, and it's such a gift. And I get really jazzed up about that, or the trauma that comes in where their life just changes instantly. And I will also say sometimes when I'm on call, I get I can't believe I'm at the hospital. I'm not at home. I'm not here. And that is honestly how I scheduled that first crazy vacation to Belize, is because I was a little bitter being at the hospital and not at home.
Mm-hmm.
Does the lack of control, because that's the problem with call, right?
Yeah.
You don't have any control. You have no idea what time that phone call is going to be and what's on the other end of the line. How do you manage your mind around that? Because I managed it by throwing my pager across the wall, and my wife said, change your job or change your attitude. And I changed my job. So how do you deal with that for many, many years?
Two things. I think one is I hate in-house call. Absolutely hate it, especially when it's not crazy. But on the other hand, I am never rolling over on the pillow going, oh, don't want to drive in 15 minutes for that. It's like, I'm here. And it's just taking that burden away from going home to the hospital. And I live close to the hospital, to just saying like, yes, how can I help on there? So that I am okay with. It's a gift to be there. But I will say the majority now that I'm 15 years into practice, I do more outpatient surgery. I also control when I'm on trauma call. I try to limit how many people are in the office, because I am really terrible about the stress of potential of being in two places at once. It doesn't sit well with me. Other people handle it much more gracefully than I do.
Well, believe it or not, we're just about out of time. But before we close, let's go around and have each one of you share the takeaway that you've got from this episode. Ellie, let's go to you first.
The concept of saying no for me, that's definitely something that I need to work on in the future. And for all of us surgeons, we need to have boundaries and really think about that in our jobs to avoid burnout in the future. That's something I think is really important, is to reinforce our boundaries.
Susie.
My takeaway is don't be a Michael. Develop those interests early.
Start your hobbies.
And I would say that my takeaway is to think about things from the front end. What do I want my life to look like, and add some structure to that, and work within that structure and realize you can't do everything, and you can do what you can do. And if it falls outside of your structure, guess what? Somebody else is going to be available to do that, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So to our listeners throughout the breast community, we're so excited you've joined us on this journey, and we'll see you next time on the Next Breast Thing podcast.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of The Next Breast Thing, a podcast by the American Society of Breast Surgeons for the breast community.
Also, join the conversation on our Facebook group by searching the Next Breast Thing podcast group on Facebook.
Finally, the content within the Next Breast Thing podcast represents the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-host, and may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the American Society of Breast Surgeons.
Until next time, this is Carla,
Ellie,
Michael,
Susie,
and Susan. And always remember, if you're part of the breast community and can't seem to find the answers, this is the Next Breast Thing.